Heat Nation, welcome into the Heat Report. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. The Heat had a chance to go to the NBA Finals last night, and they absolutely blew it, losing 116-99 at the Kaseya Center on home court. What an embarrassing performance by the Miami Heat. They were up 6 at halftime, 56-50. I was feeling good because the Heat had a poor shooting half. They turned the ball over a bit, and they were still up 6, and they had a chance to put the dagger right through the Boston Celtics' heart and advance to the finals and have 8 days of rest to prepare for the Denver Nuggets. Now, they laid an absolute dud in the second half, and now they're going to have to travel to Boston for a matchup on Thursday night in TD Garden, where anything is possible now. I know you're still up 3-1, and you got to have faith that Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Eric Spoelstra won't blow a 3-0 lead, but I firmly believe the Heat will be back at the Kaseya Center on Saturday night for Game 6, and this is worst case scenario. You should have just taken care of business last night at home. And we'll break down the game more in depth, plus some injury news coming up in a second. But I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the Heat Report. We'll be here for all the Heat news, Heat rumors, this NBA offseason, alongside this NBA playoff run. Plus, we've been live for watch parties for every game in this Eastern Conference Finals, and that will not change. We will be live for the rest of the series and hopefully the entire NBA Finals. So make sure you guys hit that sub button on the trail to 800 subscribers. Let's take a look at Jimmy Butler. 29 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. The raw numbers look good. But I just felt like Jimmy Butler was not that engaged in the first half. He only had 9 points in the first half. So he had 20 in the second half in totality and had a good third quarter. But I felt like he was missing a lot of bunnies. I remember he missed a layup early in that third quarter, point blank, butt naked. It ended up resulting in a Max Strus 3 on that possession because of an offensive rebound. But I just feel like Jimmy Butler wasn't that locked in. He didn't find his shooting stroke. And he was missing a lot of easy little push floaters about 8-10 feet in the paint, which I didn't like to see. But I want to talk more about Bam Adebayo, who's had a great career in closeout games. I mean, he was phenomenal in Game 6 against the Knicks. Think about this against Milwaukee in Game 5 this playoff run. He put up a 20-point triple-double. So Bam has the ability to be dominant in closeout games, but yesterday was absolutely abysmal. His defense was still there, but 10 points, 5 rebounds, that's just poor effort from Bam. And I want to see him be more aggressive. He's put up 20 points almost about the first 3 games in this series, and he's dominated Al Horford and Robert Williams. He was not dominant last night for the Heat offense, and I think that really translated into why the Heat failed to put up 100 points after basically cooking the Celtics for 3 straight games. Time to talk a little Gabe Vincent. 17 points. He was phenomenal again, but he did tweak his ankle late in that fourth quarter, and it's a little dicey now because he's been so important for this Heat playoff run. I don't know how he will be going forward. This is what Sports Injury Central had to say on the Gabe Vincent injury. They said, by video, it looks like a suffered mild left ankle inversion sprain in the fourth quarter of Game 4. Likely to play in Game 5, but will have limited mobility. Overnight swelling will be the key to his effectiveness. And the Heat need him to be effective. I mean, he has been averaging 14-plus points in this series. He's been the best guard on the team. And without Tyler Herro already, without Victor Oladipo, if Gabe Vincent goes down and the only guards on your team are Max Strus and Kyle Lowry, because I would consider Duncan a wing and Caleb Martin a wing, but you're going to need Gabe Vincent to be healthy and effective if you want the Heat to win this series, because even though they're up 3-0 and they were up 3-0 and up 3-1 now, you can't take anything lightly. You need Gabe Vincent. I thought Caleb Martin was incredible again in the first half. What he has done for this Heat team during this playoff run is truly remarkable, and that 3-year, $20 million contract he signed last offseason is already fully worth it if you're Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. One bad thing about Caleb Martin's game, he was 6 of 6 from the field and 2 for 2 from the 3 at halftime. So you look at that, he didn't make a shot in the second half, just had about a couple free throws. The Heat's defense is really what let them down in this game. And you can see it right here with Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum got cooking. He had 8 points at halftime. So he had 34, 11, and 7 for the game, which would mean, you do the math is mathin', 26 points in the second half. And it really came in that third quarter where Tatum really dominated, and the Celtics went on an 18-0 run in that middle of the third quarter where the Heat's offense was turning the ball over almost every possession, and the Heat couldn't get a stop. these are the numbers from the game. He out-rebounded the Celtics, which if you've watched this Heat team throughout the entire season, you know rebounding is always one of the biggest issues for the Heat, but it has been better since Kevin Love has been involved. But you let the Celtics shoot 51.2% from the field, 19 of 45 from three. Meanwhile, you're shooting 8 of 32 from three. So you shot one of your worst games from three-pointer range in this series. Actually, the worst. And I would say one of the worst this entire postseason, but there are a couple ugly games against the New York Knicks if you go back and watch. I'm just going to hopefully toss this one away, say it was a bad shooting night. That kind of parlayed into the poor defense played by the Miami Heat. And I'm going to hope that Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Eric Spoelstra will come ready to play in Game 5 against Boston. I'm not overly optimistic about the chances of the Heat in Game 5. Hey, but hopefully they can get it done because it would be pretty sweet to celebrate on Boston's home court like they did to us last season. But I want to ask you guys, who you got in the series? It's 3-1. I know the Heat still have a pretty commanding lead in the series, but who you got? Type H for the Heat, Type C for the Celtics. Let me know down in the comment section. It is our pinned comment on today's show, so make sure you guys do let us know. The series odds, man, I have never seen a team, actually, one other time, be up 3-1 and have the odds really not in their favor. I mean, if you're down 3-1 in the series and you're only plus 220, that's pretty good, or I mean, I would say that's horrible value. So the Celtics and the odds makers still believe the Celtics have a chance to win the series. The only one that is maybe worse than this is the first round when the Heat were up 3-1 on the Bucks. And I think the Bucks were borderline still a pick-em in that series. But I want to get into this. Underdog NBA, shout out Underdog, tweeted this yesterday. Tyler Herro, hand injury, unlikely to return for the NBA Finals if the Heat advance, remains without a timetable. And that's pretty significant if you're the Miami Heat, because you assume that you're going to get the job done in advance to the NBA Finals. And we talked about this on our first ever video, that I think Herro would come back for the NBA Finals. He just got cleared for basketball activities with that right hand, but if Underdog's saying that he's not going to be back, I don't know if he will be back. I mean, it was a 4 to 6 week injury. The timetable's lining up. I think we're in week 5 right now. So I think based on the timetable, he would be able to return, but just getting cleared for basketball activities with that right hand, I'm not overly optimistic about his chances to return. And I know it's been a very divisive news on the Heat Twitter. People don't know if he did come back, if he should be coming off the bench or back in his starting spot. So we'll see if Tyler comes back at all. But if they do go to the NBA Finals, I do believe the Heat would have to need his scoring at least a little bit. That's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you do subscribe to the Heat Report. Like I said, trying to get to 700 or 800 subscribers, We'll be here all postseason long and all offseason. So make sure you hit that sub button. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, too, at Nic_Rohloff. Diehard Miami Heat fan. I tweet about the Heat on a daily basis, whether it be memes, more news, more rumors for your Miami Heat. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. And I'll see you Thursday for Game 5. Hopefully the Heat can pull it out.